Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that was 22 years ago.
Okay, fantastic.
Kunal is the tech guy, so I guess that was the only way we were destined to meet.
Well, okay, so speaking of tech, let's transition over there. Kunal, tell us about life before wine. What were you doing?
Boring tech stuff. Worked at a few different companies, but Sony Pictures spent a little over a decade at Sony Pictures. And then after we started the winery, spent a few years doing two jobs, the winery as well as a tech job in San Luis Obispo for a company called Mind Body. I ran their technology team. And then finally, just before COVID, actually, timing, mid 18, decided to transition full time into the winery.
Okay, got it. So, Neeta, you're going to school for what at the time?
I'm an Indian, so it's either going to be engineering or medicine. As always, engineering.
Wait, now, I had a lot of Indian friends at Amazon that were in tech.
Yeah. So I was studying Masters of Engineering at Berkeley. And that's what I'm at Kunal, yeah.
And she went from engineer to movie maker to winemaker. So that's been her career transition.
Yeah.
Did you do work in the movie business?
Yes, I wrote, produced, directed for quite a bit. I was in the movie business for almost 8 to 9 years. And one of the highlights was I launched a casting company in India. If you know of nowcasting.com, which is one of the biggest casting portals in Hollywood, I launched them in India. So that was sort of my Hollywood gig, if you will. So even with LXV, I think Kunal sometimes has to remind me the way I approach things. He's like, this is not a movie. We're selling wine. Tone it back. And for me, it's always about, are we telling the right story? Are we saying things that will move and shift people? And he sometimes has to kind of remind me that I'm not making movies.
You're not making a movie right now.
Well, I mean, that's a good segue, because that's why we're here, because we know telling stories makes such a difference in wine, right? We've certainly learned that here. The story is what makes, in addition to the quality of wine, what makes a winery, a wine experience compelling. So we're excited to learn more about that story. In India, it's Bollywood, right?
Yes, India's Bollywood. And India now has sub-regional versions of Bollywood. So there's multiple other things that they've acronymed off that. So, yeah. Got it.
And so was that, Neeta, was movie making an early passion for you?
You know, it's interesting. I grew up in India. As I said, you grew up being an engineer or a doctor. That's sort of what's expected of you. And my father is a foundry man, so that was the idea. But Kunal is a very, I can't explain it. I call him like a sort of a Renaissance Indian, if you will. And so when we met, it was pretty much, follow your heart. He didn't think I would take it literally when he said that. It was just a romantic thing for him to say. And I used to be a dancer. And so storytelling was kind of my passion right from the beginning. I'm a classical Indian dancer as well. And really that's where the passion for storytelling came. And we landed in LA and, when in Rome, that's really how I started making movies. And Kunal actually, he was very actually participating in that as well. He helped me produce and do the release and all that kind of stuff.
I actually have a cameo in one of her movies too.
Oh, no kidding.
Which he was almost edited out. No, you're not. You were edited out of it.
I think I was edited out of one of the clips.
Yeah, because he kept looking at the camera. And so his thing was, I'm producing the movie, so I should at least have one scene.
No, I didn't ask
looking
for
at the camera.
No, I didn't ask for it. I got it because your extra didn't show up or something like that.
Yeah.
So before tech, any kind of early young passions or projects that you were involved in, or pastimes, hobbies?
Yeah, I've been a pilot for about going to 25 years, 24 years now.
Oh, wow.
That's been a big passion of mine.
A commercial pilot or just something you did privately?
No, just a private pilot. It's fussing around in an airplane above San Francisco and above LA. So that's been sort of my passion for a long time. aviation in general has been a big passion.
So my understanding is that you guys discovered Paso when the airport in Arroyo Grande was, well, you couldn't land there. Was that when
Yeah,
you
so,
were flying the plane at that time?
Yeah, so we used to make a lot of trips from LA just to wine country, to Vegas, to Palm Springs, wherever, for the weekend, and we were coming up to Oceano because we'd heard of this burger joint at the airport. The typical $100 burger book. It shows you spend $10 for a burger and $200 on the flight to eat that burger. Anyway, so we were supposed to land in Oceano at the time. The license I had was the private pilot's license. I didn't have the instrument rating that allowed me to fly through clouds at that time. So as Oceano got fogged out, I diverted to Paso. And we landed in Paso, this is 07, maybe 08, something like that, a while back. And Paso Airport at that time gave a pilot a free rental car. So we got a free enterprise rental car at the airport. And we went to Cass Winery because that was the closest place to eat lunch. And we were supposed to eat lunch and fly back. And Neeta had a glass of wine, and I felt like, wine's supposed to be good here, so I need to drink some wine. So we called our dog sitter and asked her if she could keep the dogs overnight. And as soon as she said yes, we didn't think twice. I ordered myself a glass of wine. Then we figured out a hotel and, go to Ross to buy basic amenities. And yeah.
If anyone has been to Cass, and I'm sure most of you have, Cass Winery is it really captures what Paso is about. It's so hospitable. And even at that time, we're talking about 15 years ago, longer, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just amazing how we always say the story, the two people who are responsible for us being in Paso, it's Cass and Denner. These were the two, Cass for casting a spell on us right from the beginning. The owners themselves became a part of the story very early on. And then Ron Denner, who's been a personal mentor. But it's because of them we are in Paso today.
And so that trip, it was just Cass, because you were just a burger trip, right? So it was only Cass?
No. It was not just Cass. Once we decided that we don't have to fly back that day. If I remember correctly, I think we drove to Sculptera and maybe one other place at that time.
But Cass was the one that made the mark, which got you thinking.
Cass is certainly the one that made the mark.
It's the environment that they create. And at that time, I remember Steve Cass himself was in the tasting room. We met the family, of course, Ted Plemons, and it gave us a taste of what it is to be on this side of the bar. And if you are into hospitality the way they are, what that could mean. It was literally our first taste of Paso was hospitality.
Oh, wow. My favorite part of that story is probably that you were taking a flight just to get a burger, though.
yeah, exactly. And subsequently, when it sort of became that first stop, we'd drive up from LA on a weekend and we'd stop there for lunch, let our dogs run in the vineyard, and then have lunch and then move on to wherever else we had planned for the rest of the day. But, in Sunny Ynez, Zaca Mesa used to be our lunch dog first stop, and that became Cass after that. So,
got it. So another revealing question to get to know you before we get into the wine is, for each of you, what's your favorite non-wine adult beverage?
So I'm an equal opportunity consumer. So every beverage has an equal chance, but we're an old-fashioned.
An old-fashioned.
Yeah.
In fact, we do a monthly thing with our club members. We call it the Celerade. And last month I was in India, and Kunal was supposed to do that, and he did Cap Franc and old-fashioned. At least that was the plan.
And everyone boycotted us for that. So it's fine.
No,
Kurt was a lone soldier.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And Neeta, what about you?
That's a good question. I'm Indian, so chai is always at my heart. But I was in India and had a chance to drink a lot of gin. And India is doing phenomenal gins right now. I'm really, really inspired. The botanicals, it's a country of flavors. So for this country to do botanicals was a given, but the way they're doing it, it's pretty phenomenal. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an infusion of Indian gin in the markets here in America. It's really respectable what they're
That's
doing.
interesting.
So that's
No,
like
that makes sense.
I smuggled a few bottles in
Yeah.
in my suitcase.
Do you guys visit back in India often?
Our families are there actually. This is, if I can say hi, this is Kunal's dad.
Yeah, my dad's visiting from India for a few weeks. So
Hello, how are you?
Hi there. Thanks for joining us.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
So,
but he doesn't drink, so he's not participating.
Got it.
So it's a cute story. I went to see my mother. My mother's she's okay. She's faring well now, and she doesn't drink. A lot of women in India don't, and she had an IV put in, and she was just kind of beside herself. And my dad was having a glass of my Sauv Blanc, and she asked my dad. She's like, "What is that?" And he said, "I'm having Neeta's wine." She says, "Can I have a glass?" And I'm like, "Yes, Mom, yes." So I bring a glass because it was very hot in India, and she just wanted something cold. And to see my mom with IV in her hand and the wine glass, but
And she doesn't drink.
and
She
she
does
doesn't
not
drink.
drink like
and
a sip of wine a week kind of thing.
and my parents, because my sister, she owns a hospital, so they live in the hospital, so the IV service comes to their bed in some sense. So in one hand she has the IV, in the other hand she has a glass of my Sauv Blanc, and it was the most endearing moment of my India visit.
That's good. So you make the visit to Cass, which had you thinking. How do you get from that experience and that positive memory to let's actually open a winery?
So we were coming up here as tourists after that for several years, and
It has a lot to do with Margot too. Yeah.
And as we were coming up here, a few of our different travels, like Margot to some extent actually Costa Rica, made us really start thinking about wanting a larger presence in Paso. And we started off by buying this the property that we have now was essentially first meant to be a vacation house. And we started to think about wine, but Neeta was still in the movie business. She was working on a couple of scripts, and she came up here, and this was supposed to be a vacation house, but she spent more and more time up here working on her scripts and meeting people and kind of exploring different things. I guess she was starting to think about that career shift, and wine was another passion.
We actually, Kunal and I, we met in the Bay Area. Napa became our thing to do, and hence wine became our thing to do. So it's almost like Kunal, me, and wine. Because coming from India, we didn't grow up with wine. So we found each other, and I know it sounds corny, but we found each other in wine at the same time.
Well, I was also only 21, so I could barely drink it.
There you go. Well, let's be honest, you started drinking much earlier. Your dad's here, but you know that. And so we traveled all around the world for wine. That wine was our passion right from the beginning. We traveled many countries in search of wine, and it kind of became an interesting thing for us, where it was not only just wine, it was more about the culture of every place, and the food became a huge part of what we were exploring. And somehow when we found Paso, it sort of reminded us of all of these beautiful nuggets of our travels all over the world for wine, but also it reminded us of India. Like, I can't explain it. There is like this intimacy here. There's this connection between people and the earth. And that's really what made us want to stay in Paso. And then, as Kunal was saying, we bought this home thanks to Ron Denner. He's the one who guided us to buy in Willow Creek when Willow Creek was not a thing. The appellations were not a thing in Paso at that time. And he's the one who guided us to buy this property. And once we bought the property on Willow Creek, then we started really wanting and yearning to be a part of that cool club of winemakers. If you've been in the wine industry, even on the consumer side, not just on the winemaking side, you know, one thing is you have to pay your dues. Just because you buy a property or you make wine, that's not enough. You have to grow your grapes. You have to put in true blood, sweat, and tears for them to acknowledge you as a winemaker. And I think that's really, for us, it was that whole yearning to be with these people who make this beautiful wine. That was really the impetus to make our first few cases.
Mhm.
It wasn't to build LXV or build Maison Mittal. It was to really be a part of this cool club. And that's really why we started making wine.
We started with 2 SKUs, 100 cases each,
Yeah.
and 10 grand. That's it.
Yeah.
So good investment advice from Ron for sure at that time to get you a little bit ahead of the game, right? So as you're doing your wine travels, there must have been something about Southwest France that connected with you.
Why Southwest?
Because that's where Bordeaux is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So tell us about your experience there, if that's a fair assumption to make. That's kind of the direction of your assortment with some Italian wines too. Fair to say, right?
Yeah, so we fell in love with almost every region we went to. Champagne. And we have this bad habit of wherever we travel, we're like, hey, we should have bought a property there. And a long time ago, we got some advice from somebody in Costa Rica where we almost bought some property. Like the guy said, if you come back a second time, buy it. That means you really like the place and you're taking the effort to come back. And obviously, we haven't bought property in Costa Rica yet, but Bordeaux certainly had our heart. That's where we will be making wine even this year, and are actively looking to buy some property. And that's a part of the story we can get into later. But yeah, but Bordeaux does have our heart. Neeta's love is Margaux, which is on the left bank, a small village in the left bank, and my heart is Saint-Em on the right bank, and maybe even Pomerol, a little more punchier wines from there.
Was there a wine that made a particular impression on each of you early on?
For me, there is a chateau in Margaux, 2 of them that really spoke to us. One was Kirwan, and I have my French colleague from LXV who would completely reprimand me for the way I'm pronouncing it, but it's Kirwa and Kirwan. It's a third growth.
I believe so.
Third growth, and it was fabulous wines coming out of there. And then we stumbled on the wines of Rauzan Segla, Rauzan, Rauzan Segla. Rauzan Segla is a chateau. It is second growth. It's owned by Chanel, and they actually have a lot of wines in America. They have quite a presence in America, and those wines, I mean, if anything, one of the chateaus we model our wines and our aspirations on is Rauzan Segla, especially for the Secret, which is our left bank Bordeaux wine. If anybody has been to Margaux and has had wines of Margaux, it's literally 10 minutes away from Pauillac, 10 minutes driving time, that's it. But the wines couldn't be more different. Pauillac has these broad shoulders. Pauillac has a lot of sort of that masculine, egotistical wines. And then Margaux just takes a step back, and she's very feminine, and she's very beautiful, and she's very poetic. And that's what I loved about Margaux, is in that big pronunciation of left bank Bordeaux wines, there was this commune that was making wines that really they touch your heart, and that's Margaux for me. So for us, our Secret always is dedicated to Margaux, and that was the wine for me, right?
Yeah, and for me, it's been Chateau Pavie on the right bank.
Spell that.
Pavie. The beautiful Michelin-star restaurant right in the heart of Saint M. We were actually scheduled to stay there, but certain things happened and we couldn't make that happen. But we ended up at least tasting there, and that's what hooked me on to Cab Franc. And actually, the other wine that the wine that has the maximum amount of Cab Franc on the right bank is Le Petit Cheval, which is Cheval Blanc's second label. And just that Cab Franc in there has been
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it's beautiful.
So, by the way, that was a beautiful description. I could see where the writing in the wine or the movie business came into play there with your descriptions. That was well done.
And you saw my tech description versus the movie descriptions.
Kunal and I, we couldn't be more different. We don't even agree on the banks. There's this competition going on. We just released the white Sangiovese, and now Kunal's like, I have to have a white Cabernet Franc because he has to have a Cabernet Franc in the portfolio. So yeah, but at least we agree on Bordeaux, so that's good.
I'm excited to try that. So you make the decision that you want to get into the business. Do you intern anywhere? Do you start out someplace else, or you just go straight to making your own?
No, so no, we didn't go that route. We worked with actually the other person, Randy at Red Souls, introduced us to Amy Butler, and when we talked to Ron about her, and you know, she used to make her wine there, so Ron was very supportive. So we got Amy on board to make our wines for the first 3 years. We worked with her in the winery, in the cellar, learning and making wine with her, but she was a steward of the wines. And Anita focused on the marketing and branding and hospitality aspects of the business, and I did everything else that was involved on the, sort of the operational side. And that's kind of how we got started. And 3 years into that, as we started to really hone into the style of wines and where we wanted to take LXV, and our focus on Bordeaux, there was a natural transition from Amy, whose focus is beautiful Rhônes, to Jeff Strakis, our current winemaker, consultant, whose focus has been Bordeaux and cabs and stuff in Napa. And recently, last vintage, we brought on a consultant from Napa, but the fact that he's from Napa is not as important, but the fact that he has made wine in Bordeaux and has studied at the University of Bordeaux was almost more important to bring him on as our consultant to augment Jeff and hone in on and double down on our sort of focus on Bordeaux.
You know, one thing I want to give Kunal credit right from the beginning was when we started, by the way, there are people who are commenting on the Kiron and the Rawson Segler. Anytime anyone, if you're in Paso, please let us know. We'd love to get together with you and just open some Kirons and Seglers and just enjoy them. But one of the things I have to give Kunal credit is early on, because if you think about Paso, it's known as a Rhone region. That's how it has been known for, marketed for decades. And when we came into the business, Bordeaux was not a thing in Paso. It was our passion. We brought that passion, but Bordeaux was not a thing. And a lot of people advised us not to do Bordeaux, but to do Rhones. And we studied this very, very deeply. So we started off with Rhones. Our first vintages were all Rhones and Rhone blends. But at the same time, we collaborated with Cal Poly. Jason Yeager, if you've heard of him, he's a viticulturist from Napa who moved here and really understood with him and with other people in the area, with Gary Abeli, with Guillaume Fabre, and really understood the potential of this area for Bordeaux and realized very quickly that this area is phenomenal for Bordeaux. It just hasn't been marketed so. And for us, our biggest sort of blessing was Dow opened the same time that we did, and Dow's entire charter was Bordeaux, and they've really put in a lot of heart and effort into Bordeaux. And thank you, Dimitra, for saying that. And so that's really for us. The reason I was giving credit to Kunal is he made the decision and said, what do you say? We will make.
Yeah, so
What's the phrase that you use?
it's not my phrase. So when for the 2012 vintage, I wanted to make a Cabernet Franc because that's been my favorite varietal. And Amy, our winemaker at that time, was like, Kunal, make the wine that will sell, buy the wine you want to drink.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, isn't that the same thing? How can I stand behind my bar and try to
Right.
sell any one of you a bottle of wine or a varietal that I'm not fully passionate behind myself? For example, LXV will probably, unless something changes in our palates, which obviously palates evolve, we likely will not have a Zin. It's just not our favorite varietal. Nothing against it. We'll enjoy a great Zin once in a while. It's just not something we are passionate about. So putting that in front of you for us in our tasting doesn't make sense. Doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
So that's where Cab Franc resonates. We'll always have Cab Franc. What Neeta didn't mention in one of her passions for wine, where the Italian influence comes in, is Bianco Santi and Sangiovese there, and which is why Sangiovese is always part of our program, because it's she developed a passion for that on one of our Tuscany trips. So we're going to evolve our program with focus on Bordeaux, a little bit of Italian, and really stick to that we believe in those grapes, we believe in those varietals, we think it can do well in Paso, we've studied it, and now we'll present it.
What's behind the name LXV?
LXV is 65 in Roman numerals. We are inspired by the 64 sutras. So the entire Indian culture is built on these paradigms, these aphorisms of deep cultural roots, music, dance, feng shui, architecture, that makes your life rich. And for us, the story of our wine is the 65th sutra, hence LXV.
Got it. That's cool. So then it's the decision's made to switch from that initial vintage of Rhone over to Bordeaux. What was the first vintage, by the way?
2010 was our first vintage.
2010. And that was just two different wines?
Yeah, it was two different wines. The first one was a Grenache Syrah Tempranillo blend.
Oh.
And the second one was actually not completely Rhone. It was Sangiovese Petit Syrah blend.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So those are the 95 to 100 cases each of those two wines. 2011, we didn't make any wine because we were still figuring out whether we can sell the wine.
You guys just froze for me. You think is it me or
No, he's frozen.
okay?
Yeah, they're frozen. Yeah.
Oh, now how do we fill the dead air? This is a new one for us.
Creek, but even within Willow Creek.
There we go.
There we go.
We lost you for about 30 seconds, probably. It froze.
It's the ranch internet. But no, I was just saying, along with figuring out the wines we were making, and the where does our passion for Bordeaux lie, and what does that mean? What does Willow Creek mean? And within Willow Creek is sort of it's a big appellation. Within Willow Creek, where we are, is such a different pocket than, let's just say, on the east where La Ventura is, or where the previous Terry Hogue is. And so along with that, what we did vintage to vintage, where we really stepped up on our vineyards. So one mandate was very clear, that because when you get into the wine industry, you don't get an open invitation to vineyards. You have to earn it, especially if it's a vineyard of notoriety. You have to earn your way into getting grapes from the vineyard. Yeah. And which I respect that. I respect that a lot in the industry when vineyards hold that dear to their heart. And so really over the years, that's one thing we worked on, regardless of where our path was taking us, was the vineyards had to get better and better and better. And now, of course, we have Bien Nacido, we have G2 North, we have our own estate, Arman. We have we've done Jada, Denner. So now our vineyards really, it's now what we have learned is it's not about the varietals. It's not about the grapes. It's all about the soil and the terroir. That's what speaks. That's what it is about. And that's what you want to bring to the table. If the conversation becomes about the grape, we've lost the sense of the wine. It's not, the idea is not if it's a cab, it's a Syrah, it's about what is the terroir and what is it that we're representing in terms of the soil, the climate, the grower, what's that essence. That's what wine should be about.
So what are you pulling from Bien Nacido? Is that Cab Franc?
Syrah,
Syrah from Block 8.
yeah.
Oh, so okay, so we do have some Rhone in the
Yes,
lineup
yes.
then.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do have Syrah as the only Rhone in the mix, and it's only because, you know, and, quite frankly, Neeta and I have argued about that, and we've like, why would we continue with Syrah in our program? Well, when you get access to Benacido, to Neeta's
Right.
you get access to Benacido, you don't say no to that.
You respect Biennacido. Biennacido is considered one of the best vineyards in the same list as DRC,
Yeah.
Romney County. And so you respect that and you say, okay, if I'm given a chance to make wine out of Biennacido, I'm not going to be vain and say, oh, I don't make Rhones. That's not the idea.
Yeah.
The idea is to actually make a wine and see if we can live up to that.
And as we're narrowing our focus and honing in our program, quite frankly, 2020 was going to be our last vintage of Syrah till the Benacido contract became available to us.
Got it. That's a good contract.
Exactly.
What vineyards is producing the best Cab Franc?
Our Cab Franc, the vineyards, and we made Cab Franc from different vineyards in North County, all the way down to Santa Barbara, and we've loved many of them. The one that our friend Ross is drinking, if he's drinking the 2015, I believe it's from Boot Jack Ranch in Paso Robles. Since the 2020 vintage for our reserve Cab Franc, we're using a vineyard called Portico Hills down in Los Alamos. Beautiful vineyard, and you can talk a little bit more about the vineyard. And in 2021, 2022, we're using G2 North and our own estate vineyard. And this year, we've also contracted right off the slope of Terry Hogue, on the other side of Terry Hogue. So Kyla Canyon, still Willow Creek appellation, we're in 3.5 acres of Cab Franc planted for us. So we're bringing Cab Franc back to Willow Creek for our reserves. But right now, the cooler climate from Portico Hills is what many of you got in your glass with the if you have the 2020, and I'm actually drinking the 2021, which is again the same Portico Hills.
So then it sounds like, because a lot of your wine decisions are terroir based, if I'm hearing that right, is this a vintage to vintage decision based off what you're getting access to?
No, not at all. Very intentional. So we don't sign any tonnage contracts. All our contracts are acreage, so that we can get to control the farming. We start off by just doing a 1-year contract and testing out the vineyard, seeing what it does for us, see how it fits into our profile. And then year 2, year 3 onwards, we start getting to longer term contracts and really start honing in and controlling the farming practices. So literally right now, Frederick and Jeff, our 2 winemakers, and us are meeting with all the vineyard managers and talking about fruit thinning. In January, we met and talked about pruning. So all the decisions we influence, and we're going to start talking about irrigation. That irrigation decision obviously got delayed a little bit because we've had a beautiful rainy season. So we don't, irrigation is not an issue top of mind this year. But where we get the next, so when we get access to the next better contract, best vineyard, we start figuring out how to grow it into our program. But we do have some long-standing contracts with stuff like Portico Hills, G2 North, with Danner, Jada, some beautiful vineyards that have been year on year. White Hawk down in the San Ynez area. There are very reputed vineyards and have worked with us for multiple years. And continue
with
to work with us.
with the assortment of the Bordeaux varietals, the Italian varietals, is there any intent to make an old world style as well, or
So,
go ahead?
so it's interesting. Do you mean old world style in the style of the wine or the blending? I missed the last part, Jason.
No, either.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So our heart is in the old world, right? We love Bordeaux. We love Italian wines, Biondo Santi, the area of Montalcino. In fact, our friend Peter is sipping on something, and I don't know if he's in Italy. I think he's on his way to Italy. The idea is the best thing
Not
about
Peter,
it's the other Peter who's on his,
Yeah.
because Peter owns a home in Italy, so I assume this
right.
Peter. But the idea with the blessing that we have in California is if you have the intent of making an old world wine, and that's what we do. We pick early, we press gently. Our viticulture practices are very much kind of set in the old world. And then you get the California expression. So you land somewhere in between where you get wines, great structure and great expression and restraint in both. So we can talk about balance all day long, but if you have that old world philosophy and if you have cooler climate pockets within California, that balance of structure and expression is very, very precious. And I think that's what we seek in our LXV wines. One of the things that we get a feedback continuously about LXV wine is there is a texture to LXV wines. The texture is kind of a through line, and it is poetic. It is a beautiful beginning, middle, and end, softer tannins, much restraint on the alcohol, great acidity, fresher wines, very restrained use of oak. All of these are sort of the old world principles, and that's usually what we follow in terms of principles of winemaking. And in terms of sourcing, it's always cooler climate. That's non-negotiable for us. So we have to have cooler climate pockets to make the wines, because we make wines in a very restrained style. So it's very important that the grapes come in from the vineyard in much more restrained and not overripe or not overexpressive.
Yeah.
So to suit our expression of wine, it's very important to pursue cooler climate, which at times can be tricky in terms of ripening.
No.
So far, so good. This season will be interesting, though. We'll see what happens.
No, you nailed what I'm tasting exactly. I mean, it's not the hyper extracted, overripe 16%. It is elegant. It's soft tannins. It's well balanced. It's beautiful wine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So aside from the assortment, which is we talked at the beginning about, some of the unique things you guys are doing, and your assortment is unique. There are other Bordeaux wines for sure in Paso, but I think the dedication you have to more of them, as well as the others in your assortment, the other wines and the other regions that you represent in your assortment, your tasting room experience also. There's a lot of buzz to that experience, and that's another way that I think you guys also differentiate. Can you talk about that?
Do you mean the pairings that we do?
Yeah.
It all started with the idea of wanting to really make people think about wine. When you go to a vineyard, and I guess all of you are avid wine lovers and drinkers, when you go to the vineyard, there is a pause. When you're tasting at a vineyard, there's a pause. You take time to understand the wines, appreciate the wines. It's very natural. When you go to an urban tasting room, which is where we are, we wanted to make sure that there is that pause, there's that deliberation in understanding the wine. A lot goes into making premium wines. There are thousands of decisions that are made at every corner, and it could be the smallest decision as to do we pick at 1 o'clock or do we pick at 3 o'clock in the night? Or it could be a bigger decision as to what yeast to use and everything in between. And so with boutique wines, with premium wines, there's so much passion that goes, so much personal touch that goes from every person who makes the decision. And you, as a person who's drinking the wine, is supposed to understand all of that in 2 sips. We are asking a lot of you when we do that. premium wines, we price our wines according to what goes into making wine. And then we expect you to understand that in a few words that we describe, in a few sips that you have. And so for us, it was important that we gave that space to people to understand what it is that we are trying to do on their own time, in their own expression. And that's really how the pairing started. It was a deliberate attempt to pair the wines with flavors so that there is a bridge of understanding, a bridge of connection, and it makes people pause and understand and deliberate over the wine. For example, if you're talking about The Secret, I know many of you are tasting The Secret now in your glass. The Secret, exactly, thank you, Jason. The Secret, it's, I told you it's modeled after Margaux. It has this freshness, it has this acidity. We can talk about acidity because we are winemakers, but for somebody who's tasting, what does acidity mean? What does that freshness mean? What does that zing mean? You understand that in a white wine. In a red wine, that's difficult to comprehend. And so we bring in flavors that help people understand, oh, that's what you mean by that freshness in the wine, or that's what you meant by savoriness. That's what you meant by umami. That's what you meant by fruit complementing spice. And so the idea to bring these flavors was really to help people who taste the wine understand the structure of the wine, the flavors in the wine, the intent of the wine. That's where it all started. And then it just took a life of its own, where people loved it so much that it became sort of a way for people to explore not only our wines, but now people use our spices to explore other wines, which gives me great joy. Don't get me wrong, I love that. Somebody just posted on Fanatics a picture of our spices and Jacob Toft wine. And I'm like, I love that. I absolutely adore that. And so that's really where the whole spice thing, and when we say spices, these are not Indian spices. These are flavors, we've traveled a lot, so we kind of pick from various areas that we've traveled to. We were in Ireland and we had a fish that was enveloped in seaweed. And so one of our Bordeaux blends, we call it the Temple, and it's a right bank Bordeaux blend. So it's Merlot Cabernet Franc, and it had such sultriness and umami to it that we brought that seaweed. It's a dulce flakes. The seaweed is called dulce. So we brought that into the mix, and now we pair our Temple with that seaweed, where there's some pink peppercorn, some nutritional yeast, and a few other spices to just round up that experience. But that's really how it all started, and it was named Top 10 Wine Experiences in America. But I always wanted to be in the service of the wine. It's not a food and wine pairing. I tell people it's not food and wine pairing. It's meant to understand the depth and complexity of the wine. And even if you think when you taste wine, right, probably 5 out of 10 times, maybe more, there's some food involved. There's some other elements involved. So it's great to understand that interaction with food as well.
Well, I've heard amazing things about that experience. And if we have any time left here at the end, for those that have been here, we'd love to open it up and let you talk about it too. But I can't wait to get out there and give that a try. I've really just heard some great things about it. And I know we're getting close on time, so I'll move on quickly. This is always interesting. What's the most challenging part of the business?
Nothing for me.
Nothing.
No challenges. No, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. What I mean by that is there are times when you feel, there are practical problems that come in that you don't have answers. And for that, we always have phenomenal mentors that we turn to. And then there are times when you feel like maybe things could have taken a different turn if you had taken a different road, but that's just a part of learning it. But honestly, so far, and I hope I'm not jinxing it, it hasn't been a challenge where it hasn't felt, okay, my passion overrides the challenge. I'm good. Never been stumbled, never been stupefied by anything. I don't know how you feel about it.
Kunal, yeah.
He's probably going to look at me when you talk about challenges.
No, our constant challenge is set forth by each one of you, right? You have When you make a choice to come to a winery in Paso Robles, you have 400 odd wineries to choose from. How do we ensure that we live up to the expectation if you choose to come to us? And that's a constant challenge, and it's constantly keeps us on our toes, constantly keeps us wanting to do better and learn and improve and make changes. But yeah, that's fun, and that's what we enjoy. That's what we made a lot of good friends who've joined the call today, and we'll make a lot of new ones. But that's our challenge.
Kunal, that's aligned with our most common response. The most common answer we get to that is sales. You know, we got into this because we love wine, wanted to make wine, and never thought about how to sell it. That's the most common response.
I'm not talking about selling it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Talking about making sure when you come in, you have the right experience.
Yeah.
The sale will happen, doesn't happen. That's that's part of business. But we have to make sure you walk out having a good experience first.
Yeah.
One of the things when there's the training that happens for teammates at LXV, the first thing they're told, you're not here to sell, you're here to make brand ambassadors out of people who visit. And that takes the pressure off them, which is fantastic. And so anytime you taste at LXV, you will feel like nobody's trying to sell you anything, but we're trying to see if it's almost like, can our passion be contagious enough so you leave being a brand ambassador? And LXV right now is the highest rated winery
on Yelp and
on Google, in all of Paso, in that small tiny taste room in downtown. And I think that has a lot to do with what Kunal said, and I respect that we keep that challenge very much alive. Is if you choose to come to LXV out of the 400 wineries, we take that very, very seriously.
Yeah. And I don't think generally when we get that feedback, it's less about the D2C and it's more about what distribution channels do we use and all that stuff that they had never thought about when they were getting into the business. But point well taken. Mike, I'm sorry, were you saying something?
No, I was just going to say that what we see is when a winery is providing an excellent and elevated experience, they get often mentioned in the group, and they see how more and more how our group, our members want to visit your tasting room because they hear about it. And that's how I found about it in this group. I didn't even know about LXV until this group took off, to tell you the truth. The word of mouth.
Yeah. And we have some of our oldest supporters on from Ross and Susan and Sharif and Scott. We have a bunch of our really who've been with us for 7, 8, 9 years longer.
I apologize. I know we're running tight. We're kind of at time now, so I'll power through these last ones if I can.
There's 4 minutes left before the half, so you're good.
Well, I just want to be respectful of the time commitment.
No, I know. I get it.
I asked about the most challenging part, and happy to hear that there's not many challenges. What's the most exciting, rewarding part?
Okay, this is going to be a paradox, but the challenges are the most rewarding part, because there's something about me coming up with something that feels challenging, and you feel like, am I able to do it in LXV is a small business. It's Kunal and me. We started with $10,000, no kidding. And that's how we've grown LXV. And so at times our aspirations are really, really large. It's a mandate that in the next 5 years, we want to be the best Bordeaux house in Paso. We are taking it very seriously. And so I think the exciting part is to be able to do all of that, given the resources that we have, and how do we get creative, and how do we really get the support of the community and the customers and a winemaker. How do we rally that? Really, that has been our strength. We have close to 3,000 registered club members, close to 1,900 active club members, and it's really been thanks to that community. So I think people has been very, very rewarding. Susan Williams, I don't know if she's still on the call, she's here, who's been a huge supporter. Ross Ortega, Sharif, and these are people who really, they actually are having a party right now, and they have individually dialed in, this is just so sweet. They could have just put one tone and they could have just, done their whole party thing. And Susan is hosting, and she's still logged in, and she was on for quite a bit. I think she just left. She's hosting that party where all these other people have logged in. So I think people for me has been very rewarding.
Yeah, and
real quick, come on, forgive me for interrupting. I just have to say that, Neeta, your script writing skills could easily translate to politics or PR.
No, but
let's leave politics out of it. Right now, that's a dirty word.
Well, I'm just saying the skill set's there. Anyway, I apologize. Kunal, go ahead.
No, but I just wanted to say this comes from the bottom of my heart. There's no, whenever you write a screenplay, there's always that hero arc that you're trying to achieve. So you're always trying to get this is coming really from my heart.
That's what a good politician would say.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
That's if you think me worthy of it, that's great. Somebody just nominated me for mayor of Paso. Thank you, Kurt.
Hey, nice. Sorry, Kunal, go ahead.
For me, two things: making a white Cab Franc and making a white Cab Franc sparkling.
Yeah.
Have you released a sparkling one already?
We are producing a white Sangiovese sparkling. It's in the process right now for my 2022 vintage, and now since we've advertised here, we're going to be a Bordeaux house. We're going to make a white Sangiovese, a white sparkling.
This is
Jeff
exciting
doesn't
stuff.
know it yet.
I
Jeff
cannot wait
doesn't
to
know
try
that. He
some.
might kill me, but we'll see.
That is outstanding.
I just
okay.
Okay, you got one more question, right? Yeah.
Well, the most popular one, this has become the most popular popular segment, and it is pro tips. So if you guys could share pro tips, and they could be really anything, maybe something from your experience that wine consumers could do different or better to improve their enjoyment of wine, perhaps how they buy it, how they store it, how they consume it, anything like that. But any pro tips that you can share with the group?
Drink the wine you like. Just don't worry about any of the snobbery behind the wine, any of the wine terms. Don't get bogged down by any of that. Just see what you'll enjoy and what you're in the mood for in that moment. And Ross, thank you, the Cab Franc. But yeah, just enjoy the wine you're drinking.
Good.
I just want to, before we close up, I just wanted to thank Kunal and Neeta. Neeta sent me a bottle when she found I had a broken leg back, I guess it was December, and sent me a bottle of Cab, and it got me over my impatience. It helped, temper that while I'm sitting there waiting to be able to get back to normal again.
Did you consume it via an IV, Mike?
Huh?
Did you consume it via an IV?
Well, I think her bottle, no.
That was a joke going back to the beginning.
I know, but
Yeah. We don't want to.
At the end of the day, it did a lot more for me than the orthopedic.
Nice.
So.
Well, so before we wrap, I want to give you guys a chance to talk about your current lineup and your wine club.
Okay, so our current lineup, we're pouring our Sauvignon Blanc, we're pouring our Jewel blend, which is our Sangiovese Petit Verdot blend. We're pouring a Cab Syrah blend, and I'm going to be switching our lineup very, very soon to be pouring our 2021 Reserve Cab Sauv. We have our Cab Franc Rosé and our white Sangiovese as add-ons available in the tasting room right now. So that's our current lineup.
Yeah. We also have, but I wanted to add the Reserve Cabernet Franc, which recently was voted best Cabernet Franc in a blind tasting out of 78 wineries. 78
wines.
Wow.
Nice.
That's amazing.
I think it was posted on Fanatics.
It won best of show, best of judge. Yeah, that one.
Oh, yes.
Showing there. And then from our wine club, we have a very, very simple wine club. It's 4 bottles twice a year. or 8 bottles twice a year. They're both completely customizable. So we'll send out an email with what's in the shipment, but you can call, email, or our website and change it to whatever you'd like. And obviously, all the standard benefits that every wine club has of free tastings, visits to our private vineyard, and so on. But more importantly, we do send brand new spice flavor pairings and recipes. We paired rosé with steak. We paired Cab and Cap Franc with poached lobster. And Neeta's chicken tikka masala recipe is in Food and Wine magazine in April.
Oh, I love chicken tikka
April
masala.
issue of Food and Wine magazine, paired with white Sangiovese. So if you want fun, unique pairings that no Michelin star chef will show you how to do, then that's what's going to come in our wine club shipment.
And I would just add one quick plug that you guys have some really cool recipes on your website that people should check out too.
Exactly. That's part of our wine club. It goes first to our wine club. There's several beautiful recipes. And the key about the recipes are very easy to make. I mean, Chef Rachel Ponce, who's one of the hottest chef names in town, has collaborated with us for several years on the recipe. So probably, I wouldn't say half, but close to half of the recipes on our website are from her and Anita's collaboration.
And also for our club, one important thing for us, because we make such little wine, we do wines that are exclusive to club. So our Cab Franc Rosé is exclusive to club. Our white Sangiovese is exclusive to club. Our reserves, there's a Reserve Petit Verdot, which is exclusive. We have a wine called Meso, which we don't even talk about, to be honest. It's kind of our top of the top line. And it's one of really a precious wine that we made. We don't make it every vintage. We only make it when we think that this is really something that could go under the Meso brand. And that's also exclusively to club. So we do wines that are only for our club members. And as Kunal said, it's a culinary experience. So it's just not wine. We also the idea also is to send something that gives you your context, some education. For example, the upcoming shipment that's coming up in October, it's going to have wine from the dedicated to the left bank and the right bank of Bordeaux, the secret and the tempo. So it will have material that will tell you about the left bank and the right bank of Bordeaux, and to give you a context. It's just not about LXV, it's about sharing the context. So there's a deeper conversation and education. Education is huge at LXV. Every person who pours for you on behalf of our team is either a SOM or a WSET 2, WSET 3. So for us, education in that deep dive is very important, be it a tasting in the tasting room or the club shipment that you're getting.
Or Peter, who's joined, who sometimes
yes.
pour for us. He makes wine. He's a professor of wine. His wine knowledge is probably beyond many of us combined.
Yes, he's an Italian wine master. So yeah, just to sum it up, the LXV Wine Club is exclusive because of its wines, because of its education, and because of the culinary experience.
Got it. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on and letting us run a little bit long. I apologize. And thank everybody who dialed in. Mike, are you hosting happy hour this evening?
Yeah, of course. I always stay on a little bit longer. They got a little wine left in the bottles still.
So,
hey, I just want to thank the Mittals for joining us, and thank you for participating in the party on the 22nd. It came off great. I think
sorry we missed attending in person.
I know. Hey, things happen.
Next time.
You were represented. It was great. Everybody enjoyed it.
And if you're staying on, and if anyone has questions or wants to chat, we're happy to stay on for a little bit longer.
I like people that like to drink a little more. But anyway, I just want to say before people drop off too, this is kind of new and maybe self-promotion. But anyways, I'm having a tasting party for people in the area that are South Orange County. Dresser Winery is coming here on the 23rd of June. So they're going to be doing a tasting here. Corey Burke is, and his family. So they're coming to our house, and we're going to have about 40 people. We'll have capacity for about 40 people on our backyard there. So, write me if you're interested, and I'll get you the details when they get finalized.
Have you got it?
But we
Favorite?
thank you. And if you guys want to stay on, it's great. I think Jason dropped off already for the basketball game. And by the way, that 4 minutes I said was left, took 25 to play. That's what I don't like about basketball anymore. Anyways,
Yeah, if
so
anybody-
anybody got questions for the Mittals or for me or hi, Margaret?
Hey, Margaret.
Margaret,
I've got one question, and unfortunately, it's not a wine question, but what are you still flying, and what are you flying? I'm a pilot too, so I found that fascinating, and in the engineering world.
Oh, nice. I'm not flying as actively because winemaking and flying are mutually exclusive hobbies.
Yes,
But I do have a Cessna 172 parked at the Paso
Yeah,
Airport.
girl.
outstanding.
What do you fly?
We're flying a little 182.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So we actually fly down all the time down to the Paso, and we're up in here in the Bay Area, and it's just a beautiful flight. It's a great way to travel. Let's put it that way. And I can handle exactly we can handle exactly 7 cases of wine in the back of the plane with no seat. So we know exactly what the weight and balance is and everything else.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not so much a question, just kind of a comment. Like from the party, the 2 wines that we had there was one more Cabernet based, another one was Merlot and Cabernet Franc based. I kind of expected, because I'm right back person for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I expected to like better the other one, the Merlot Cab Franc based. I actually liked better the Cabernet Franc Verdot one.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this because it's more ready to drink, or what do you think?
I do think the secret, the left bank, is generally every vintage is ready to drink a little bit earlier. The Merlot Cab Franc needs a few weeks longer or a little bit more decanting in general, in my opinion. But it's also, ultimately, we say we're trying to influence the wines by Margaux and Saint-Em. We're still getting fruit from California, Central California.
Oh,
So we can never fully emulate a right bank. And that's a constant challenge with Jeff and Frederick. Like I bring out a bottle of Pavia, like, make this wine. He's like, I can never make this wine. I can be the best winemaker in the world. I can never make this wine unless you buy fruit and from that vineyard. It goes back to Neeta talking about the focus on terroir. And so while our styles are that way, everyone, and tomorrow morning you might drink them opposite and like the other one better. It's also an individual day, individual time, individual moment, which is what's so beautiful about wine, right? I mean, your palate will evolve, your taste will evolve. You like different wines at different times.
thank you. And also note for everybody, like anyone who is staying, is that I'm personally not a rosé drinker, but like I lived for 15 years in Ontario, Canada. Rosé Cabernet Franc is the best rosé.
Yes.
You need to try ours. We do make a beautiful Cabernet Franc rosé. This is our 2022, with our 2nd year making it. It has 25% new French oak, which is unheard of in a rosé, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that surprised me. I only thought that only 6 small bridges making a Cabernet Franc rosé here.
No.
I didn't know.
6 Mile
This
makes-
is beautiful too.
Theirs is beautiful too.
I'm just gonna wait for Mom.
Second favorite.
Ross, you're on mute.
anybody else have questions?
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, David and
So
Ross.
I've been going to Paso for a long time, and I have to admit that you are new to me. I mean, I'm familiar with you, but I don't know your wines, but eager to try them. I was interested that you are Bordeaux-centric and Italian, and it seems like a natural to make a Super Tuscan, and wondered if you had tried that or were planning that. It would be very nice.
So we have a Super Tuscan-ish style wine. We have a Sangiovese Petit Verdot. So, again, the
Yeah,
definition of Super Tuscan being
You
way,
don't tell these,
that was our interpretation of it.
what you call it?
Yeah, so the reason why, if you go back to the roots of why they started doing
Popular, what,
Tuscans was,
uh,
to
The
hear.
expression that you
Yeah,
think are cool, but you don't know what they mean. Super
Yeah.
Tuscan, you don't even know what it is, dumbass.
Uh,
They just tell you they got one.
There's somebody's talking in the background.
And they're not on mute. The beauty of Super Tuscans is you take an Italian wine and you give it this expression with Bordeaux's. So yes, our Sangiovese blend, the jewel, has always been a Super Tuscan in that sense. It's been a Sangiovese Petit Verdot. 1 year it was Sangiovese Cab. So that's a Super Tuscan. The only reason we shy away from calling it Super Tuscan is because to be called Super Tuscan, it has to be from Tuscany. So that's why we never use the word Super Tuscan, but the idea is that is a Sangiovese that is lifted in its expression with blending a Bordeaux. Does that answer the question, David?
Yeah, no, I sort of beg to differ. I think if you're calling your wines Bordeaux style, and they're not from Bordeaux, that it's a similar reasoning. I think a Super Tuscan is those that blend the Sangiovese from and the and the roundness from Bordeaux. I really like them, and I actually intrigued at the idea of making a white Super Tuscan, since you make a white Sangiovese, and you're talking about making a white Cab Sav. Cab Franc.
David, don't go there. Don't go there.
David, a winemaker, and you might have he might have some words to say to you. No, but I love the idea. Hey, don't put ideas in my head. We might end up doing it.
The white Sangiovese has become like a cult wine for us, and to the point that it was featured in Food and Wine magazine. And now that Kunal wants to make the white Cab Franc, Jeff and I, we're kind of trying to walk him off the cliff.
No, it's not happening.
But it happens. So if you talk about white Super Tuscan, that it might be pushing it a bit too much with a winemaker.
Hey, never say never. I do love the idea, David. Ross, you were going to say something?
So talking about the whites, right? I mean, so literally the very first time I've ever had a white Sangiovese was about 90 minutes ago. When I poured this, I had pre-poured the Cab Franc. I love my Corvin. It's the first time I've had any of your guys' wine. And as the night's gone on, I mean, this white Sangiovese is beautiful. I'm thinking about which friends I'm going to open. I need to get more of this, and who else I'm going to open this with. So I love that you guys are doing some different things. I'd love.
I'll be your friend.
Yeah. Awesome, Kurt. That's good. It's just beautiful. I'm sorry, Kurt, you got my brain going in a different. Mike was just saying that dressers coming there. We've actually been wondering, we're like, maybe we should throw out onto the Paso group, like we'll have an open party for 25 people on our deck one day, for anybody who wants to come in the area.
You know what, I know Corey pretty well, and I was at Gelfin. We were Gelfin members for a long time, and when the transition, and we were one of the few that hung on there. And I said, well, give the guy a chance, and actually he's doing some great things. So I wanted to bring him to Orange County, and I know that there's we'll have a good crowd, and it's going to be great.
Right.
I'll do more. You want to come down? Where do you live?
Well, so I see. I'm trying not to travel that far. I'm trying to.
Oh no, I get that part. Yeah, I get that.
That's okay. I'm in the Santa Cruz.
I was saying it to the winemakers in general.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So there you go. No, this has been lovely, and yeah, our next trip to Paso is in July, and Patrick's sitting here going, are we going there, or is that on our list? Where do we're going to LXV? Okay, so my question, LXV, is that Roman numerals? Is that And what is the meaning behind it for you guys?
It's inspired by the 64 sutras. It's the sort of the paradigm of the entire Indian culture, the 64 aphorisms, if you will. that our culture. And for us, the story of our wine is the 65th Sutra, hence LXV.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And Laura, I did post my cell phone number on the chat on the side. So when any of you guys come to Paso, text me directly, and we'll make sure we take care of you guys.
Well,
But other things I wanted to mention is that I like what you said about like working with like people who work in your tasting room. They have this kind of like really deep wine knowledge. Like I know one of the person who used to work in your tasting room, who then used to have a wine bar in Atascadero.
Yeah, Paul
Uh,
Zuniga.
Paul, yeah, like he is a great guy, and like I can see a lot of influence on what like from his experience in LXV.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of the teammates of ours have gone on to start businesses. Paul Zuniga is an example. Quinn Cody, who's now owns Alchemist Garden. Rachel Ponce, she was our manager, and she's done now a crazy good chef and entrepreneur in this area. Tommy Booth, who owns Wine Boss, he plants vineyards all over Malibu. So multiple of our teammates have gone on to really be entrepreneurs in our area and outside our area.
And that's what I love about Paso.
what is your relationship with Wes Hagen? Does he do things for you, special events for you?
Yes. So he does very specific hospitality stuff, like if somebody wants a historical deep dive into viticulture or wine, or if there is a very specific media that come through, then we'll invite Wes to be a part of the tasting.
Got it.
He's if you've been, he does a lot of stuff online, and it's really amazing that the depth of knowledge. He immerses you in history and expression. It's really fantastic. He's a phenomenal human being and does fantastic work in food and wine pairings.
No, he's got quite the resume too. So
He's really amazing.
So he's involved with us in multifacets of hospitality, special events. Our Cabernet Franc Day, he was the keynote speaker there.
Yeah.
He ran the seminar for that. So he's involved with us in multiple facets, focused on hospitality and deep dive educational experiences.
right.
Hi, Darren and Lucy.
When is the next time we're going to have a Cabernet Franc festival in Paso?
It'll be the first Sunday of December. I think that's December 4th.
Yeah.
It is going to be at the CAS Event Center, same place. We are actually finalizing the details. We have our participating wineries lined up. We're finalizing some final details, and we'll start
Very nice.
and having tickets for sale probably the next month.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Anybody else have questions?
Well, one last point on that. Hopefully, we're working towards having and launching an international Bordeaux Day in Paso Robles to coincide with the Bordeaux Wine Festival. If we can wing it for 2024, we will. We're working actively to try to make it happen for 2024.
Go ahead,
We
Lucy.
are brand new LXV Wine Club members. We were at the party
Welcome
on
to our
Saturday,
family.
and then we were in
Welcome
your
to our
tasting room on Sunday. And Neeta, your teeth are amazing. Just wanted to tell you that you have beautiful teeth. And that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our
So-
family.
So Lucy, did you go there after the party?
We went there on Sunday, yeah.
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 Perfect.
And we joined, we did the spice tasting and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lucy.
That's great. Yeah, no, one of the challenges about the party, if anybody wants to know, is the winemakers that are there that are not the property owners, they can't sell. So the best thing to do is tell them what you want to get and go pick it up, or you can go over there and do the whole experience. That's the benefit of that whole situation. Yeah. Anybody else?
Well,
Wait, Darren
I'll
should
second
talk.
the teeth thing, but I wouldn't be the first one to go out there with it. But since you brought it up, I'm in on the teeth. Good job.
You're what? What was that again?
I think Kurt's like my wife's teeth too.
I'm going to second the teeth thing. As a
And then
59-year-old
yeah,
white guy, I'm not going to bring that up first thing, but since somebody else did,
what did you start, Lucy?
good
Hey,
job.
Mike,
Appreciate the comment earlier
He's
that
off
you
video all
made
this time. Now
about-
he's on
Video all this time. Now he chose just because. Kurt, I'm not going to hear the end of this, I'm sure.
Go ahead, Darren.
Let me put it
No, we
this way.
appreciate the comment earlier about people that you hire to represent the brand in the tasting room and the experience, because Lucy and I are always down when we go to visit a tasting room. We always want to understand the story behind what ends up in the glass, all the nuance and the passion and the story and what goes in to the soul that is poured into the glass there. And and that's what we're there for, to interact with the tasting room people. And sometimes you don't get that, and I'm just like, okay, I get it, just pour, I'll taste and get out of your way or make a sale. So really appreciate the fact that you really instill that on your staff in the tasting room. Really appreciate that, and that's what we're always looking for. And that's why we love Paso, because we continue to get that in most tasting rooms that we visit, which is why we are fanatics.
We
Well-
limit our tasting room staff can only have handle 2 tables at a time. If one person calls in sick on a busy Saturday, unfortunately, we handle less people, because we will not allow them to handle a third table and not provide that customized service or that time with you, answer your questions, explain to the level of detail that you are interested in learning. So sometimes our tasting room is empty, but we have only one person working. So we have only 2 people, and if somebody walks in, and we have to unfortunately politely ask them to come back.
Yeah, thank you for
If I can say something, tag on to Darren's comment. And Neeta, when you asked me in the beginning about the group, there was no business plan for it. It was like, okay, but we did realize that down the line, what mattered most was we could help small producers. And those are the places I love to go. My wife and I love to go. Jason, Dimitro, the team, Tisha, Jennifer, and Raj. We're all in. That's the circle we're in. We don't frequent Dow, Justin, not to denigrate them. Dow, Justin, Austin, Hope. We all know those, and most of those we can pick up at the grocery store, more or less. Even the higher end Dow you can pick up there. But the point is that the purpose of this forum is to introduce our membership to the people behind the wine, so we can hear their story, hear about their passion, their journey, and the $10,000 startup that you created is incredible entrepreneurial story. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're not going to have those other wineries on that are much larger mass production, and what we're trying to achieve here is try to help elevate those that are lesser known, and I hope we're doing a good job of it. And that's kind of the mission we're on, and we've kind of created, and with Dimitro and everybody else's help, that's where we've gone. So the membership guided us down that path, and we're just going with it. So
Small winery like us, like we have a zero marketing budget. We don't do any paid marketing, any Google ads, Facebook ads, Yelp ads, or any of that sort, right? Absolutely zero. This platform that you've created, Mike and team, has given us that voice in the community. It's given us an ability to express ourselves, introduce people talking to each other, talking about us. That's what has made a small winery like us successful in the last couple of years since you launched this. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for supporting our small guys. I have to say, on the big guys too, the Dows and Austin Hopes and the Justin of the world, we respect them a lot, with every marketing dollar they spend.
Right, exactly.
Benefits everybody in the community. So we do respect what they bring to the community in a huge way. So they have that, and then you have this, and it both really works in the benefit of our small wineries.
But I'll say something about Austin Hope and Dow and Justin, almost like they have the same spirit that we do, but at the scale. We don't have corporates. Well, now we do. A few of them have come into Paso. We have a few gallows and we have a few constellations. And that's not bad either. I mean, they will bring a finesse of process. They will bring a lot of research and development to this area, which is fantastic. But then with Austin Hope, Dow, and Justin, what's amazing is these are wineries that have a very big reach, but in spirit, it's still very much, they do things exactly the way we do it. There is still that attention to detail. There's still that wanting to make sure the customer has a good time, making good wine. So in that respect, I really feel they even have a harder charter than we do, because we take care of such fewer customers because we're so small. They have a much broader audience in terms of people who visit, in terms of the wines they put out in the market, and they have to cater to all of that. So they have a harder charter than we do, to be honest. So the reason that, Mike, is I would say invite Austin Hope. You will be surprised. He's like, Austin Hope is the guy. We just got permit to build on the property, and I needed some help in something. Just one phone call, Austin, I need help. No questions asked. Very next day, a letter went out to the county. Same thing with Jenner. Of course, he's not in play anymore. Same thing with Dow. Daniel Dow, always one text away. I don't know if Daniel will come on this program, but Austin Hope might. And it's so refreshing to see Austin talk about, he's lived here, he's been raised here, and to see him and hear him talk about the wines and his passion to take Paso to the world. They're drinking Austin Hope in Hawaii right now. That to me is very, very endearing.
Now, I absolutely agree with you. And I think one of the things that we do pretty well, we're not perfect, Dimitri will back me up on it, is we try to, for those people that are anti large distribution, widely distributed wines, we tamp down the conversation to some degree. We try to, because there is people in Paso that work at those wineries. And so and it happens in the industry, in your industry, and from outside, the negative stuff. I know people don't like it. But you know what? We're a happy, peace-loving wine group, and negativity just doesn't work in this forum. And you know what? Wine is subjective. Everybody loves. So anytime somebody says something bad about Dow or Austin Hope or Justin, there may be some reason, but there's people that work there, and there's people that like to go to Dow and enjoy the view. And you can't convince anybody. You can't. For every one of those guys that is negative, there's about another 200, 300 people that enjoy it, their experience. So all you're doing is you're like raining on their parade, so
Well,
I think we do a good job at it, right, Dimitro?
Yeah, I would also add that this is a difference between personal preferences and personal thoughts and the way how we do things as kind of moderators, admins, is that like out of the big wineries mentioned, I personally take exception with one of them that I would never drink, but I also would not allow people to kind of like, I would be mindful. I don't want to impose my opinions on other people.
Right.
So, I think that Kunal said that, I believe early in this evening, you drink what you like.
Yep.
And everybody likes something a little bit differently. And if we're, as a community, saying that wines of a different price point, right? That there are folks who can't afford an LXV, right? That that's bad wine and whatever. Well, then what are we doing? We're just making sure that folks don't like wine, right? That they never even start getting a taste for it, start liking stuff. We have an open bottle of red in the refrigerator that I need to find some meat to marinate because we opened it a couple days ago and we didn't like it. So we said, we're not drinking it, right? And that's always my attitude. Only drink something if you like it, right? I don't care how much it cost. I don't care how much, what the label said on it. Drink it if you like it.
If you can afford it, go ahead and buy it. If you,
Right.
your budget is a little lower, that's where we try to set the bar. I hope we do a pretty good job of that. We don't like those convos about what people are spending. A matter of fact, those people, we have 5 to 10 bad actors on there, in the group that are a problem. And I've talked to them on the phone. I said, you see what you're doing? I spend the time with them and go like, this is the way the group, we see it. I have my preferences and I like drinking good wine, but to be fair, this isn't a group about, it's about everybody, and there's 20,000 people and everybody has a different person palate, and that's the trick. And we're trying to appeal to everybody.
So one of the things I've
and
learned,
one other thing is that people here, like you can get, like in Paso, you can have beautiful wines at very different price points. And it's kind of, as you talk to winemakers, people, you get a specific attachment that at some point, price point doesn't really that matter. It's really kind of like you can get some, like I'm getting some wines from the likes of De Negoce. Like if anybody knows, this is kind of like unlabeled. They got some from some good wineries. It's a good juice. But every time I have an opening bottle of this, what I lack is the connection to the place that made it, because it's a secret place that is making a good wine. So what? And it's a cheap wine, but it's a good wine. But like the connection to people who make this wine. Connection to people, you went to the tasting room, maybe, and in Paso, more than any other place, you're more likely to taste with winemaker, owner, relative of the owner, family member, things like that. It's like, that's what makes Paso very different. And that's what makes connections, not the label, not the price point, good wine and your experience.
and this is the story we tell people all again and again, and why we are leaving Napa, why we live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. This is some beautiful wines up here. We're not members anywhere up here. We have 14 wine clubs and most of it's in Paso, because this is where the passion is what we heard today. And what we keep on hearing is, it's just, I want to be there. I mean, the fact that Amy was making your wines, we have Rancho, so we probably have 100 bottles of Rancho cellars of her wine down there. We love her stuff. Yeah. And so this is just that how it all flows, and it becomes a beautiful story. I have a benefit, or you're running a benefit, but I was doing some stuff for my work, and I'm off buying wines wherever I can. And I always lean down into the Paso because I can tell the story as I'm pouring it for my customers. Mm-hmm. It's just this whole thing, and I believe it. It's his
high-tech customers who usually drink beer, right?
Who drink beer and crappy wine usually. So I'm slowly converting them.
I'll tell you a story that, because Paso started off this way, it's a culture there.
Yes.
But when I was talking to Larry Schaefer at Tesoro in Santa Barbara, he was jealous of how this works here. And I said, well, you know what, my team and I, we'll help you. We kind of wanted to steal the Wine Fanatics name, so to speak, but that's a longer story. But anyways, I said, we'll manage it. And he goes, that'd be great, because I'd like to bring that passion here, because it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. He goes, it's more of a Napa type attitude. And that may be fair or not fair, but it's a little harder there. What I like about Paso is that it's easy to travel around and hit a few places in a day. And if you manage your itinerary properly, and he wants to try to bring that there. It's slowly growing, and we're going to try to continue to push it. But I don't go there as much as I used to, because this has become my whole existence right now.
So So just to end, Neeta, I do have to leave. Neeta likes to say wine's equally about the context as the content. So the whole context, where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. And again, they mentioned that in Sideways, but as we went on our wine journey, we really started thinking that is very true. And we started actually embracing what that actually meant. Although it was just, start off for us being a movie dialogue, but we really embraced that in our own wine experiences and our journeys. But on that note, I think Neeta and I do have to wrap up, so we'll let you guys do it. Thank you so much for giving us the
Thank you so
opportunity.
much.
Thank you.
So glad to
Thank
be
you.
here.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate you joining us tonight.
No, thank you for the education. It's been beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you
All right.
so much.
We'll see you guys soon next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Anybody else got a question?
I had more questions for them about their wines because I haven't been there yet, but I'm like,
No,
This
either.
stuff is bloody ass good.
I-
Oh my God.
when
This
we
is
go in
great.
July, I have one little time slot on Friday when we're there, and I was going to go to Copia, but we've already tasted Copia and done that. I am so envious, Lucy and Darren, that you guys got to go on the 22nd. I had a prior engagement that was very important with some little people in my life, and so we didn't come down that for the.
Well, we're in Monterey.
gathering.
You said you're in the Santa Cruz Mountains. We're in Monterey.
And we're like
Oh,
You're in Monterey.
nice.
90
Oh.
minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
27 miles south of you.
Yeah, we took our RV down there and we stayed in the Paso Robles RV ranch and it was awesome.
Yeah.
We spent 2 nights down there.
Nice.
So did you talk, I'm sorry, I
Nice,
was
nice,
feeding
nice.
dogs and taking care of stuff here. Did you talk about hosting up here?
I said, yeah, because Mike was talking about that Corey's coming down to Southern Orange County, and that you had brought up maybe posting us finding a weekend to just say, hey, we can probably host 25 people or something.
25.
Everybody
Easy.
bring a bottle and we'll share stories.
Well,
Right?
this is his first dresser on the road, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he's open to any invite. And I've been to numerous tastings down there with Guillaume, Neil Collins. You guys all see it all anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyways,
Here's the thing
so-
is we just had, I just met,
Dresser on the road.
we were just with,
Well, the
Jordan.
22nd, when you guys were there, Jordan was up here.
She was pouring at a place up here.
Oh,
I met her, we were at her dinner and I had a great connection with her again. She's always up here. She has a lot of family and friends up here,
Oh, really?
really good friends. So I'm thinking it's like, if I can
Where are you guys
time
at?
that right, man, have Jordan come up here and pour some
and,
wine.
and her husband.
And her husband's
husband's
awesome.
Yeah. he's
Yeah.
great.
Now that would be epic.
Where are you guys at?
Oh.
And Neil Collins is quite fascinating, by the way. Very fascinating.
Okay.
So we spent quite a bit of time with him down here in Mission Viejo, was where they were at. But from the party aspect, the LXV, everybody was there and it worked out great. And you know what? If that's what led you to go to LXV the next day, it's all good. Like you, Laura and Patrick, my wife and I have not been to LXV. We kind of had a thing, we were going to go there when we were up there on a Wednesday or Thursday, but then Neeta had to go to India to tend to her mother who was ill.
Yep.
And then suddenly Kunal got a really bad cold and he didn't show up. So John Seals was there to pour for him. So it was all good. It it really turned out pretty good.
Yeah, we were planning on tasting it all on Sunday, but I mean, we were going into town to pick up our wine club from Bouchon.
Yeah.
But he didn't open till like noon and LXV was open at 11. So we just waltzed over there and yeah, John poured for us on Sunday and it was great. We joined the wine club and
Does LXV have a tasting room in downtown Paso?
Yes, that's
yeah,
what
it's pretty much
Oh.
across the street from Copia.
Yeah, right.
I was saying we could go there instead of Copia.
Let's
We
go
just
there
have-
instead of Copia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
John,
That's the Indian connection right there. across the street.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
and
Um,
John Seals, who was at the 22nd, who was pouring for LXV, we got his whole story. He's from Ohio, so how did he get to Paso? You can ask him that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he moved, well, he moved from Ohio to like West Virginia or something, and then, and then went to Paso and okay, yeah, get the story.
No, it's okay. I'm on board.
He went all in. He went all in from Ohio to Paso. He was in the industry, and he went to Paso because he's like, this is the next thing.
Lucy, that's like giving the score away is what I'm taking from Darren there.
Speaking of the score, do you know the score of the game?
No.
We're gonna watch it after this.
Yeah. So yeah, the party was great. Too bad you guys couldn't make it, Patrick. It was good. It turned out great. Got a little warmer than I was expecting, but because
you can't control the weather.
Had a lot of shade trees around it.
Worked out pretty good. Used a few more easy ups.
And by the way, you're talking about Bashan.
Could have used some easy ups.
Also, the whole story about the $10,000 and starting a label or starting wine. We talked to Ryan Peace about that, who started with Lenny Collado and a few others and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He said that their whole generation you could do that with $10,000. But he's like, right now it's transitioning to where you need like serious money, like investors, and
well, that's
whatever funding.
There's a lot of tech money coming in where guys are startups. Ryan and Bashan really shine that day. Look, the way I picked the winemakers was based on their participation in the group, and most of them I had met already. So I'm going down this checklist right now, and we'll see what happens for next year. But Ryan was he was already going to be on board for the party before he did the March Meet Your Makers, and he was so fascinating that he killed it. He sold a pile of wine, and I feel good about that because we helped him. It helped. This whole forum helped him. The party advanced the ball up the field.
We missed his Meet Your Makers. Is that available to watch, Mike?
Yeah, I missed it too.
Oh, I'm recording right now. I'll probably have to dice off this part of it.
No, the taster.
You should. And who's the fourth?
Sharif.
No
camera. Mike. Is that available to watch?
I think he was watching the game.
It's got turned off.
A note in his hand. Anyway, so in Jason, he was so good when I took a group of people, about 8 people, to his place the first time. You know why I found out about it? Because everybody was mentioning it in the group. Mm-hmm. So I am like everybody else. I learn from what people tell everybody else. I see the name scroll by. I don't read the page all day. I have other people, we the admin and moderators, God bless them. We have to mostly call balls and strikes all day. So it gets a little, we have things that go on that we have to deal with. And I think we do a really good job of it so far. And, but Bashan, I like what he's doing there. I do like him a lot. He's a fantastic guy, and he's making some great wines.
Yep.
So right, but everybody was doing, LXV Bordeaux, Janice was Italian varietals, Bashan, Rhone, a little of this and that. He's doing some things that nobody else is making. Tanat is really his benchmark, and then Ryan is doing Rhone, kind of old world style, more lighter. He's killing it. Yeah, I mean he's a great guy. So
is his Meet Your Makers available, Mike, to watch back?
There are. I think if you look it up, you will find Ryan. Jason and I have screwed some of them up, or we forgot to record, and I recorded this one a little late, but not just after the first question. And I'll have to edit when it's available to me tomorrow. But we try to put them up, and I think it really helps the wineries a lot. We're starting to discover it really does matter over and beyond that. I think we had 37 max today at one
Right.
time. So it's really worked out pretty good. Okay.
No,
No,
appreciate
it's
it.
been
All right,
fun.
been good.
Thank you.
All right.
Nice
Good
to
night.
meet
See
you,
you again,
Darren.
Lucy and Darren and Laura and
Yeah.
Patrick.
Nice to meet
Hope
you.
to see you in Paso sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down there in a few weeks. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Be
Bye.
hot.
Bye. Stop recording.